Welcome back to another Top 5. I'm that Halloween movie collector, Pat. This episode, we're going to do my top 5 horror movies of the 1990s. Another tough task to whittle down to just my top 5. The other ones seem to be a little controversial because I did leave a few, blockbusters or big ones off the list, but like I said, this is just my personal top 5, and I pretty much definitely going to go back and do part Bs to these because just to put the movies on that I had to leave off, that I had to leave on the table. So not wasting any time, let's just jump right into this. My number 5 from 1996, From Dusk Till Dawn. Love this movie. Quentin Tarantino, George Clooney. This movie's fun from start to finish. Probably one of the best ensemble casts of any movie, let alone a horror/comedy in history. I'm sorry, this movie is just so much fun. And every time it's on, I got to sit there and watch it. You have two brothers who are fugitive robbers who just rob a liquor store and they're on a run and they hijack a family in an RV, which happens to be, Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis, and force them to get them over the Mexican border to meet up with their contact in Mexico to sort of hide them out. And they stop at this bar along the way, which unbeknownst to them is basically inhabited by a bunch of vampires. And probably one of the most amazing scenes ever with the beautiful Salma Hayek doing her snake dance and everything just turns to holy hell after that. This movie is just so freaking great. I mean, who do you have in there? You have Quentin Tarantino, George Clooney, Juliette Lewis, Harvey Keitel, Tom Savini, John Saxon, Danny Trejo. I mean, it's like the who's who of who's in a freaking movie. But this movie is just so much fun, great fun. The whole part of the whole shootout and fight in the bar is just unbelievable. And it's nice to see at the last minute, who's standing at the end and a little bit of humanity in one of them. Just fun movie. Directed by Robert Rodriguez. Easily probably my favorite movie from him. I know Quentin Tarantino did do the screenplay, and I think Robert Kurtzman, it was a story that he did. But From Dusk Till Dawn, fun movie, 1996, my number 5. Number 4. Of course, I'm that Halloween movie collector. I have to have a Halloween movie on this list? Yeah, I guess I kind of do. My number 4 from 1995, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. A very polarizing film because there are two versions of it. There's the theatrical cut and the producer's cut. And if I like them as a blend of the two. I can't really say if I like one more than the other. If you blended them together and put certain pieces and parts together, a much more fluid film. And it's very nostalgic because it's the last film that our beloved Donald Pleasance was in. Actually, he passed away right towards the end of filming. So it makes it that much more sentimental and depressing for that matter because that was it. We lost the great Donald Pleasance. So Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. After waiting 6 years to finally find out who the hell this man in black was, we watch Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers to find out who it is. And boy, was it underwhelming to say the least. I mean, pretty novel idea having Dr. Wynn come all the way back from Halloween, the first Halloween. He's only there for a minute walking out with Loomis in the very first Halloween. For Christ's sakes, he can't drive a car. Dr. Wynn. And it leads to the revelation of who the man in black is. So this movie does have some things that are a little depressing. I mean, in the beginning, you do see Jamie Lloyd, who we left off in Halloween 5. It's not played by Danielle Harris, unfortunately, due to some contract disputes. So she didn't reprise her role. And they just basically and unceremoniously kill her off in the first 10 minutes, which did not make too many people happy, especially those who are very fond of Halloween 4 and 5. Much like myself, thought it was a kind of a waste of a character. And then the whole plot around that she's pregnant and it's discovered to be the baby's Michael. So there's like this whole incest thing behind everything. And it's just very, very odd what the direction they went in. Not the direction I would have chosen, but it's a fun movie nonetheless. George Wilbur, albeit a little bit stocky and a little bit thicker, just like myself here. Sort of not the typical Myers silhouette. Looked like Myers was eating a little bit too much at Smith's Grove while he was hiding out for 6 years. It's a fun movie. You got a young Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle. It was great. They brought Tommy Doyle back, and they have the whole backstory of how he's figuring this curse of thorn when it appears in the sky is when Michael appears, or when it does on Halloween night. And Michael's actually got that tattoo, which appeared in Halloween 5 when he was in that little hermit shack, which nobody seems to understand how they just got there. Obviously, if you watch the original opening of Halloween 5, you see the original Dr. Death scene where he puts the tattoo on his wrist. These two movies have so many different plot holes. I mean, they're nostalgic because I was younger and I'm a Halloween fanatic, but so many different plot holes. Halloween 6 was wrought with controversy. We actually did interview Dan Ferrens, the writer, on the Halloween Collectors podcast about a month or so ago. And there were so many cooks in the kitchen on this movie, so many people with different ideas and changing things. Go watch Taking Shape. Go read Taking Shape, the two books by Dustin McNeil, either one or two. They both have interviews with Dan Ferrens, and they go into backstory of how everything was changed in Halloween 6. So watch both movies, form your own opinion, but this is my number 5. I like it. It's still a fun watch. Little odd entry in the Halloween franchise, but nonetheless, my number 4. My number 3, from 1990, Misery, adapted from the book by Stephen King. Now, this movie, probably one of the most cringy scenes ever in any horror movie, with James Caan and Kathy Bates. Now, this follows, James Caan. He's an author. He's going to write another book, and he's going through a snowstorm, trying to get to a place to do some writing. Unfortunately, he goes off the road, and he's saved by Kathy Bates, who, unbeknownst to him, is a psychotic, obsessive fan of his and of his character, Misery Chastain. Now, she's nursing him back to health, and she's obsessed with him, and you can tell there's definitely a screw loose in that head of hers, and she finds out that he's about to kill the Misery Chastain off, and she's flipping her shit, making him rewrite everything, and he's trying to get away, and she's just torturing him along the way. And probably one of the worst scenes ever, when she takes a sledgehammer to his ankles, and to this day I have to look away because that's just the worst. I mean, this movie was just unbelievable at the time it came out. Great performances from James Caan, Kathy Bates. I mean, Academy Award nominee. Just a great movie all around. It was great that Kathy Bates, you got to see her in this as a horror person, because she, I don't know, I'm trying to think of any other horror movies she was in. I know she was great in American Horror Story, with the different seasons. So it was great to see her do more horror, because she had a knack for it. She just has that evilness, the way she portrays it, where it's just so subtle. And just a great performance by both of them, and it's still a great movie to this day. Come to number 2. From 1991, The Silence of the Lambs. Another amazing movie with Oscar actors and actresses. Both of them won for Best Actor, Best Actress, Movie of the Year. I mean, I think it was probably the only time it ever happened to a horror movie, as far as I remember. I don't know if Rosemary's Baby did or not, or The Exorcist. I know they were nominated for stuff like that. But just amazing film. Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, Ted Levine, Clarice Starling is an FBI agent tracking a serial killer that they're calling Buffalo Bill, and they enlist the help of incarcerated serial killer and psychologist Hannibal Lecter, played by the amazing Anthony Hopkins, and he's just playing psychological games with her, trying to get things out of her, basically trying to get stuff for him. Because he's just incarcerated in solitary. Nobody goes near him because he's a cannibal, not just a serial killer. He's a cannibal. And some of the best dialogue in a horror movie from Anthony Hopkins, from any actor in a horror movie, is in this movie. You got Ted Levine played the perfect serial killer. He's kidnapping these women and skinning them for their skin. And it culminates in a great climax. Not to spoil it, but it's an older movie. But just great performances all around. Still holds up to this day. Spawned several other incarnations with Hannibal Lecter, including a Hannibal series. So a lot came from this movie. It wasn't just the one single movie. And albeit the sequels weren't so bad, they were here and there. They were okay. Some memorable scenes in the other ones, but nothing can touch the original. Silence of the Lambs, fantastic movie. Easily my number 2 of the 1990s. And we come to number 1. And I'm sure you probably figured it out by now, because it's a no-brainer that it hasn't shown up on my list yet. From 1996, Scream. This movie gave a shot in the arm to horror movies and reinvigorated the horror genre. And albeit it's slasher slash comedy, spoof. I mean, I'm a Halloween fanatic, and I mean the whole movie was a tribute to Halloween, from start to finish, with even to the point where they're watching Halloween and commenting on all the tropes from horror movies. Great performances from Nev Campbell. Who else? The very beginning was so reminiscent of Psycho, where you're expecting to see Drew Barrymore in this whole movie, and they kill her off in the first 10 minutes. Very much in the vein of how they killed off Janet Leigh in Psycho. And you're like, whoa, wait a second, she's dead? Great. And an homage to When a Stranger Calls, too, because she's getting those odd phone calls. So that set up that premise right there. And just great performances. You have Rose McGowan in there, which is great. I used to have a big crush on her. Matthew Lillard is hysterical, as always. He's just that goofball Skeet Ulrich. And, of course, at the time, everybody watched Friends every week on Thursdays on Channel 4, like I used to watch. So I wanted to see for Courtney Cox. So she was great in that. David Arquette was great as Dewey. What more can you say? And how great was it to see Henry Winkler, the Fonz, as the principal and get killed in the movie? And albeit a nice little, right before it happens, a little cameo from Wes Craven as Freddy Krueger, the janitor. This movie's just fun start to finish. I mean, many other sequels in this franchise I do appreciate, which will probably show up on other lists as I go forward and do a few more lists. We got a new Scream last year, which I thought was very good. We got a new one coming out this year, which is going to be odd because there's no Nev Campbell in it. So I'm curious how they're going to address the Sidney Prescott aspect of it not being in the film. And it's supposed to take place in Manhattan. So I'm praying to God it's better than Jason Takes Manhattan. So I've seen the previews. It looks great. Jenna Ortega was great in the last movie. So I'm looking forward to seeing how she reprises her role in Scream 6 and see if it's really good. But Scream, the original, is just an unbelievable film. What's nice about these Scream films, which is kind of cool, is it's a whodunit. It's not just a slasher film, it's a whodunit because in each movie, it's a different killer. So it's always nice. Sometimes it's very obvious who the killer is, and sometimes it's really not obvious who the killer is. I mean, really, they did the whole Sidney Prescott's mother was a whore and screwed everybody up aspect over several films. From her cousins to bring it back. Skeet Ulrich's mom to avenge his death. There's a lot of little plot things where they really reach, but they were all fun. These are just fun. Scream is just a fun watch from the first movie all through them all. So easily my number one. It was such a fun thing to see when I saw it in the theaters in 1996. I walked out of there with a big smile on my face. Such great homage to Halloween. Just Jamie Kennedy, basically narrating all the tropes of Halloween and horror movies in general. Rule never say you're going to be right back because you'll never come back. I love that rule. To this day, if we're watching something, I still throw that line out there. I say, don't ever say you're coming back because you know what'll happen. You won't come back. Such Scream. Great film. I'm sure everybody that's going to be taking the time to watch this video has seen it. Fantastic. Easily my number one horror movie of the 1990s. So there you have it. That's my top 5. Plenty of other movies were left on the cutting room floor. Plenty on the table. Probably going to come back and revisit and do some more because these are turning out to be just a lot of fun. And I'm revisiting a lot of movies I haven't really watched in a while because I'm trying to remember, as I get older, I don't forget little specifics about each movie. So it's nice because I'm starting to revisit a lot of these films as I'm creating my top 5. So it's just making it a lot of fun. I hope you're enjoying it as well, too. I'm getting some good comments on the videos underneath, people with their lists and what they would have put in and whatever, which is great. I love that. Make sure you hit that like button right around there and make sure you comment below. Let me know your top 5. Because like I said, there's plenty that I left on the table. So I'm curious to see what would make your top 5 lists. So don't be shy. Comment down below. So that being said, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, which is basically for all my collectibles behind me and updates on things I do on this channel, you can find me at That Halloween Movie Collector, where I post pictures of pieces of my Halloween collection, things are going on this channel, just fun stuff like that. It's just a fun thing to follow along, especially if you're a Halloween fanatic like myself. Also, you can find me on Twitter at that Halloween movie collector, which I'll post some stuff about my collection, but it's more about, things going on in the channel, just and Halloween stuff in general, and horror in general. It's just a little bit of everything, but still a fun thing to follow. Go check it out. And if you're a Halloween collector like myself, Halloween fanatic, just be sure to go into Facebook land and check out Halloween and Michael Myers Collectors Group I started about 5 years ago, where people post updates about the Halloween franchise, buy, sell, trade. There's plenty of masks in there, rehauls, custom masks, people. It's just good group of people. If you're a Halloween collector, Halloween fanatic, go check it out. And there you have it. Thanks for hanging out and watching me for another Top 5. I'll be working on my Top 5 movies of the early 2000s, probably out another week or so. That's going to be another fun thing to try to whittle those 5 down. It's going to be interesting. Also, be on the lookout for a new segment I'm going to be putting on the channel called Who Did It Better, where I'll compare 2 actors who played the same part, 2 directors who played the same part, maybe 2 different movies we'll compare. Episode 1 is going to be out probably middle of this week as of this recording, and my first episode will be Who Did It Better? Nick Castle from Halloween 1 as Michael Myers, or Dick Warlock as Michael Myers from Halloween 2. Now I'm starting off with a bang here because it was a tough one to go through. So be on the lookout for that if that's something cool you like and you want to geek out over some Halloween knowledge. But look, keep an eye out for Who Did It Better. And be sure to like, subscribe to this channel, tell your friends, tell your enemies, talk about it in your sleep, tell your dog, tell your animals in the house all about that Halloween Movie Collectors channel. And I will talk to you soon.